I'm from an unincorporated area outside of Chicago, gravel roads, well watered, the suburbs kind of came up and bumped over it. If any of you know where Ryerson Woods is, it's near there. I'm on the advisory board. It's a really beautiful place. So I kind of grew up in the funny kind of country. I went to Knox College for my undergraduate, which is in Illinois. I spent a summer with Queens College studying with Gabriel Latterman. I spent a summer, which was an imitation program from Yale, and 2 years at the New York Studio School, which is called the New York Studio School of Drawing, Painting, and Sculpture. We're very concrete students there. And the people that Tiffany was referring to, there's a book over there by the wine. There's 2 volumes about abstract expressionists. And my mentor, Nick Carone, is in there, and Esteban Vicente, and I taught with Angelo Ippolito, and so they're my family in a way. I had a great uncle who could trace he was a concert pianist, and he could trace his teachers back to Beethoven. And in classical music, you have the canon. In painting, not so much. But I do feel like my teacher studied with Hans Hofmann, and Hans Hofmann drew beside Matisse, and they're all these connecting kind of family trees. So that's where this work comes out of. I always work from perception, even though these might not all look like it. I might look at things that you wouldn't expect in a still life. But these rectangles, I think the connection with the abstract expressionist, and then where I wanted to go with it was, I wanted to go back to looking at things, at the world, because I think the world's a beautiful place and has better imagination than me. And so these are all done they're all done either on a low table or on the floor, so that the space is very dense, and generally you can kind of read it up. Let's see. Sorry, this is probably the oldest one. So color makes space, and color makes light, and that's definitely something that Hoffman talked about. You might know about his push-pull kind of thing. But these are, how do I talk about everything I think when I do one of these paintings? It's kind of crazy. This is like the inside of my mind. I'm always 100,000 things. But I look at classical painting. I can, painters are meaningful to me from the abstract expressionist, back to Giotto, back to wherever you want, because there's this making of a mark, and within the confines of the rectangle, it's a world. And if you think about a blank canvas, it's white and it's whole. And the first time you make a mark on it, you disturb that plane. And in the end, when I know a painting is done, is when it's like woven back in with image. So these paintings, I think about big diagonal movements. I think about how a spiral will work through the composition. The color starts to change as the painting needs it. In the beginning, when I'm working, I'm looking at the objects, I'm looking at the painting, I'm looking at back and forth and back and forth, but toward the end, the painting has its own needs for compositionally, conceptually. This one's called Ordering the Universe. Just a small attempt at this. I like to give myself kind of funny things to do when, the art school thing is don't put anything in the middle, I put things in the middle. This was 2 circles. There you go. It's upside down sunflower, and then this is a hat with little flowers on it. And just compositionally, like how could I put 2 circles in a rectangle and make it move? So those are the kinds of questions that just keep me going for hours. And my disclaimer is usually it's just me and my dog in here, so sometimes my thoughts will kind of go off in a place that only my dog should hear about. This is from a series called, and I had a catalog with it, which was, it was all tools. They were my great-grandfather's and grandfather's tools, so you can find things like a tree saw here, and other things might be semi-recognizable, but again, as the composition needs it. So I would just literally take all these tools and just dump them on the table. Same with this stuff. This is a whisk. This is a little stand for a pot. These are little figures that stack up. Gloves, fabric. It gets to it. So these were tools, and then this one. I was showing slides to some students, and I went, "Oh my God, it's totally abstract." Because what I was painting, what I had gotten to at this point was pieces of fabric, brown paper bag, rope, sticks, just what worse than your junk drawer. But it was so interesting to me. There's something, and I can never say what it is I want to paint before I start to paint it, because someone, especially with landscape painting, will say, "Oh, I know this great place." I'm like, I just know it when I see it. There's some puzzle. It's a visual puzzle, and it's the space that the paint that's on the plane, but then also the space that opens up, colors relative to color. If you look over on the wall, there's some metal dangling that's just rusted wire. I collected that in Italy. My students would bring it to me. From this old ruin where we were painting, and I had done an assemblage on the wall. Those felt like gestures, like little drawings. And so I did it, and I didn't photograph it, and I disassembled it, and I brought it through customs. All this, yes, that's my rusted wire. I need it very much. And I came back, and I couldn't ever reassemble it. So these went into the paintings. Bits of metal, bits of, and I was telling Tiffany when she came here. There's a lot of secondary imagery that happens when I'm working like this, and in this one I saw, I call this one the flight from Egypt, because compositionally there was a woman on a four-legged something. It's, as far as I'm concerned, it's gone, but it informed the painting, and I'd been in Italy going back and forth. That's a common theme that's painted throughout the Renaissance, and so it's like my own little secret. Oh, this is the flight from Egypt when Joseph and Mary and baby Jesus had to get out of town. But it's this idea of having to leave and having to pack and carry everything with you. So somehow this series was more about that. This series is called the Hem of the Madonna, and in every town. Oh, did I say I taught in Italy? I taught in Italy on and off for 10 years. I taught landscape painting in Umbria, about halfway between Rome and Florence, with my mentor, Nick. It was his school that he started, the International School of Art, which alas is no more, but so those are all my Italian references, sorry. So every town has a Madonna, every museum has dozens, and they're things that were commissioned and they're paintings, but they were also worshipped depending on where they were or what they were. And so the faces are very important and the hands are very important, but I always felt like the hem of the garments was like just painting. You know, and I always felt like, hey, you did that for a painter, you know, just the joy of that kind of thing. So this is some more bimetal from Italy. And that was what I kept thinking about, was the gesture of when a gown hits the ground. It's almost like water, and then they'll be embroidered, and compositionally it helps everything else. But so I'm just down at the hemline, which is about where I could go. And then this was a series that they were all gloves, and I love the metaphor for a hand. Whether they're up or down or how it works, and compositionally, I love how this little hand kind of holds this corner, and then there's a big vertical, there's a diagonal here, you go back up, so everything kind of moves and has a conversation with each other. And I had a teacher, George McNeil, who used to say it takes two people to paint a painting, one to paint it and one to tell you when you're done. And my husband back there, John, used to say, when are you going to stop ruining your paintings? I was like, when I know where just that balance is. And usually I'm sitting in the chair and I haven't gotten up for about half an hour because I'm looking and I'm saying, okay, this little green is holding that next to that. And
Oh.
so I kind of triangulate, like this corner of this, I needed that little bit of white, and then it relates to that. So I get to a point where nothing else can be added, and nothing can be
Hey, guys.
taken away. And so I can't explain when it's done, except I know. So either I'm sitting in the chair, I haven't gotten up for half an hour, or I'm in front of my palette and I just drop my brushes and get back away. It's like, stop, stop, stop.